Dr. Bart Rademacher, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, real success, tapping into your authentic genius so that you can live the life that you desire. And so one of the coolest things that I get to do, I get to talk and learn and transform my life. These brilliant guides on this planet. And one of them is Steven Twohig. Been talking, for quite some time already. Got a couple of sessions before about the story that you like to tell yourself and the medicine within us. But there's something that's critically important, and he brings this in all of his work for your mastering change for you, and that's, who are you? What's your identity? And if you go back to the Greek temples, one of the in the temple of Apollo, on one of them is the know thyself, and there's a couple of other ones. There's two other ones, maxims. One is I can't remember what they are, but the point is this: is that the term identity from the Greek means what we repeatedly do. So what are your habits? And one of our mentors, Tony Robbins, talks about, show me your habits, then I will show you your destiny. And so in essence, when we look at it from the perspective of systems, we're constantly running a system. So depending on what system you're running, you're going to get to your destiny that you want, right? Or the one that you don't want. And so whatever you do, you're going to get to your destiny. The question is, which one is it? And so we actually have the power of choice to consistently decide what it is that we're going to become and where we're going to go based on the systems. But you need a smart guy and a smart guide like Steven to help you develop the systems that will create that for you. Steven, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Bart. I love being here. Your podcast rocks.
No, thank you. Well, it's because of a person like you that gets to be part of it. So, the honor is totally mine. So tell me, the power systems. I mean, I know you've brought this into the context of all the work that you do, and you've been, supporting and guiding people for the last 20 years. You've done tremendous work in the past. And so where do the systems fit in?
Well, I picked this up from working under Tony. He commissioned me to interview literally tens of thousands of businesses from around the world, from your multi-billion to your one-man army to literally, I talked to a pickle farmer. I didn't even know that was a thing, right? And, it's the systems and the strategy, as Tony's always used to say, story, strategy, state, right? Story we've discussed, state, if you're not in the right state, if you don't have the right energetics, you're never going to get there. But strategy, a lot of people don't implement and engage a system that will allow them to get there. And it's funny, and then you end up just reinventing the wheel over and over and over,
Right.
Whether it be in your personal life or in your business life, just over and over and over. It's like waking up and going, okay, well, how am I going to make it through this mess? Well, do you have a strategy? No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right.
You develop a strategy, and now we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can get through something with a systemized way that we know is going to give a very specific outcome. It allows us to anticipate. It allows us to report. What gets reported gets measured. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed
Right.
grows. But if you don't have a system,
Right.
then you have you're reporting, but you don't know what you're reporting on. Right. And so you have to have that system in place to go, okay, this is what I'm doing. It's not working. How much is it not working? Well, it's not working by this much. Okay, well then let's adjust this part of the system. Oh, well, that bumped me up by this much. Okay, great. Well, now let's adjust this. And you can systematically tune in both your life and your business in ways that allow you to radically transform and turn decades into days, really.
So what are the systems that you use?
Well, it depends. So I have if I'm working with individuals, I have what I call the 6 influence points. So we can go down the system, and what I do is I take NLP, I took all the technologies and I wrapped them into, instead of me working with all the technologies and studying technologies, which I spent 2 decades doing, I want to work on the computer itself. I come from Gateway originally, in a previous life. Yeah, I was a tech support, advanced tech support. I was there for the destination system way back in the day.
And my first computer.
Well, it was one of the top, at one point, one of the top brands. And what I realized is we're all running this computer. Well, we're learning these different softwares, these different ways to defrag, stuff like that. Why don't we learn how the computer works first? And so the 6 influence points allows us to go, whether you're whether you're working on yourself, whether you're trying to influence somebody to do something, be it sales, be it uh, 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 a coach, be it a therapist, no matter what, the 6 influence points allows you to understand how the mind adjusts and makes decisions, and you can learn how to make adjustments based on that. And then in business, I have the 6 pillars of business, where taking and understanding that as a business owner, we've got to have these set ways of looking at things, because as a business owner, one of the most important things you'll do is make sure you have the right gauges in front of you.
Right.
If you don't have the right gauges in front of you, you'll never know, oh, I'm running out of gas. Oh, I'm moving too fast. My RPMs are too high. If you don't have the right gauges in front of you, you're looking at different things. You don't have the right system in place, then there's no way for you as a business owner to make sure that you're covering all the bases.
So one of the things that you mentioned already, which is key, unless you're measuring it, and you're not going to manage it, and whatever you're not managing, you're not going to grow. And so, do you have a particular system that helps people remain engaged in that? And I'll give you my own example, what I constantly do. And I've tried all sorts of different systems, and the RPM system and everything else. But I developed my own in so far as I just create an Excel spreadsheet. And on that Excel spreadsheet, I've got my different quadrants of different things. So one quadrant has my outcomes. One quadrant is my experiences. One quadrant is my reasons. And I have a bunch of other things too, because at least this way, every single day I'm sitting down, engaged, in what the plan of that day is going to be like and what I need to measure. And for example, I have to do my exercises. I mean, I have to do my exercises if I want to be healthy, right? And so sometimes I forget to mark them down, and then I get so caught up in the day that I don't do my exercise. So what do you have any particular tools that you support people with to measure that, monitor, manage it?
I do it. I have what's called an identity blueprint. So
Mhm.
identity drives narrative, narrative drives story, story drives belief, belief drives emotion, emotion drives decisions, right? Those
Okay.
are the 6 influence points. And so you take those out and you map those out. And every day you can go in and you can look at, this is where I'm showing up. This is
Okay.
how I'm showing up
Right.
today. And these are the decisions that I'm making out of that. And you can then go back and review almost like a book, right? You can, interestingly enough, just like a really good story, right? We can
Right.
go back and we can look at, did I show up? Did I become, am I showing up as I want to show up, or am I allowing what we call situational identity, where I'm allowing the outside world, like you said, I get too busy.
Right.
Oh, so you're allowing the outside world to dictate who you are. No, I just got busy. Did you really get busy? Or did you allow one thing to become more important than another? Or did you overwhelm yourself so you could give yourself permission to be overwhelmed,
Right.
right?
So I guess what you're telling me now is, and I totally on board with this, is you're committing to a certain level of accountability. You start off your day by saying, look, this is my identity. This is who I choose to be. These are my intentions. And I guess that, probably what you do in the morning is priming. And at the end of the day, you do kind of your check-in. I mean, it's not like, well, you're busy, 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 and then, okay, now I'll go to sleep.
Yeah. So we've got, one of the things I do is I run a mastermind group on Fridays for my church and other people. It's a mental cleanse group. So we have a 4-week process where
Sweet.
we clear out the chatter, because we build up plaque in our heads, right?
Right.
And so we were checking in, and what I've come to realize is that this isn't something. It's not about taking accountability. It's about being conscious about what, because you're doing this now. You're taking on an identity now. You're making up stories now. You're making, these are things, people, when people are working, they understand, oh, I need to take accountability. No, you just need to do it consciously. It's like you're doing this stuff now. You're just not being conscious about it. Why not? If you're going to write a story, why not grab the pen and go, okay, what's the story I'm going to write today? As opposed to just scribbling on a piece of paper. Most
Right.
people in their lives are just a walk on. They're going to spend their life, they're going to wake up, they're going to wake up down the road, and they're going to not know what hit them. Like, I didn't even know that I was running this whole time. I was running the bus and I didn't know I was running the bus. Yeah, the whole time you were in charge of it. Oh man, my wife is a hospice nurse, and so she and she's not just a hospice nurse. I call her the angel of death. Like she's
Mhm.
the angel that you hope shows up when you're dying, right? To take
Right.
care of you with dignity. And she comes home and you know, the number one story that I hear time and time again is people holding on longer than they should because they have unresolved issues, that they haven't cleaned this up, that they haven't cleaned. So they did something unconsciously and now they regret doing it. And so regret is literally, it will keep you in pain and suffering so long. So if you're gonna do something, just be conscious about it.
Right.
And when you're conscious, then at least then, even if it doesn't turn out the way I want, at least I can say, I hit that thing consciously as me, and this was the result, and now I can make adjustments.
So I love that distinction. So it's basically saying this is that I'm consciously choosing this to get this kind of outcome. If I don't get this outcome, then I need to make a different conscious choice. So if I
I need to
don't,
go in and adjust my strategy
right,
and see, you know, people freak out about failure. Well,
right,
of all the successful people I've worked with from all around the planet, if there's one thing I know, you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. So it's swallow failure as just a sign for me to say, well, that didn't work. Like I did a lot of work studying Edison, and because you know Edison and Tesla, I did a lot of work in Serbia, so really understanding. And Edison would go, you know, if something would explode, and he'd go, man, write that down, like write
right,
that down. And he was so excited about failure that it caused him to continue to drive forward. So accepting that failure is part of the process, it's just a guide point to tell us that we didn't get there, then
right,
making adjustments until you hit your mark. And eventually, if you're consistent and you're persistent about chasing your goal and you're willing to do whatever it takes. And here's the thing, when people say whatever, I'll do whatever it takes, really, will you allow yourself to fail over and over and over again? Will you allow yourself to strip
right,
away those parts of you? Like most people, when they say that, they want to meet it, but they're not being conscious. And
right,
here's again, they're doing all the stuff I do. It's you're doing this now, like it's stuff you're doing now. Why not do it in a way that works as opposed to a
right.
way that keeps you constricted?
You know, it's interesting you say that because in the realm of medicine, we can't fail because failure can be kind of disastrous. And so I struggled with that for the longest period of time until one day I realized that failure was my friend. And I love this quote. And I got super excited when I heard this quote from Peter Diamandis in his book, Bold, you know, of the exponential entrepreneur. And their mantra basically is fail often, fail quickly, and fail forward. And
Yes.
so all of that is a lesson. And I think Ray Dalio talks about his post-failure high because he spirals upwards through failure. And and you're absolutely right. And so that's where what I want to share when it comes to being, like you like to say, conscious, but also have compassion for yourself. I mean, love who you are, give yourself permission to be human, to make mistakes, and that's part of the learning process.
Yeah, and you hit something on the head that I am, you know, because I'm doing my work. I'm not as a guide. I'm not a coach. I'm more of a guide. I'm
Right.
doing my work as well. And as I'm doing my work, what I've realized is, you know, the hardest thing for me to do is to love myself. And
Mm,
I think love is like water. I think that it's a necessary thing. But you know, how do I take love?
right.
How do I do that with love? How do I take in? And what most people do with failure, Bart, is they do the exact opposite. They go, "Oh, I didn't get it," and they go, "Oh," and they drink something different, right?
Right.
They drink something. They drink a, "Why am I? Why does this validate that I'm a failure? How does this validate all these other stories
Yeah.
that are going on about who I really am?" And use failure as a tool to validate why they're not, you know, we all have two fears,
Mm,
one that we're not good enough, two that we're not going to be loved. And so it's like, oh, I failed. Well, see, told you you weren't good enough. You're not good enough. You should probably
yeah.
give it up. And then what we're doing is we fight against ourselves. We spend so much energy fighting against ourselves that we never have the energy necessary to achieve the goal. And anything worth doing is worth sucking at. So if you're not willing to fail through it, I talk to people, coaches, thousands of coaches that I've worked with.
Right.
You know, are you doing any Facebook posts? Are you doing any Facebook videos? They're like, you've been doing this for what, 5, 6 years now? I mean, you've been doing this for a while. I get on the phone with them. I go, are you doing any Facebook lives? Oh no, I could never. Why? I don't know how. Well, you turn on your camera and you start talking, and then you make one really, really crappy video, and you go, okay, well, what was good about that, and what could I learn from
Right.
that? And then you make another, and then another, and then another, and then 10,000 videos down the road, you're a genius at this, and you're doing
Right.
things unconsciously that are brilliant that other people are looking at you going, I could never do that. And now it's like you see the journey. There's a journey you have to take. I can't stay who I am and unfold who I'm truly meant to be. You can't stay here and get there. You're gonna have to work. And typically that means you got to be willing to suck at something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's better to suck it than skip it.
That's great. Yes, it's better to suck at the because you can't go from this stage to you can't go from one of the archetypes I believe that we all carry is the master archetype. It's that
Right.
it's the need for growth. It's the need to continue
Mhm.
to evolve. And so we have this master archetype in us, and you can't get from here to here without going. You can't skip a step because if I always say never let your talent take you where your character can't keep you, right?
Right.
You people get down the road and they didn't cover all them steps, and then
Yeah.
you see them, they fall back,
Yeah.
and it's because you didn't cover the steps. You leapfrog past 5 steps. You should have taken those 5 steps first, and it's part of the work I'm doing right.
I love it. So basically what you're sharing is you're helping people develop that foundation, and having that solid foundation, regardless of what's happening around you. You could be like that redhead that we talked about before. You shift your story and everything's great.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, when I'm doing like we bring in 10 people and we run them through this deep work where we go in and we shift all 6 influence points. It's a major, like a life-changing experience. Like you will leave changed, and not changed in a way that I'm going in and throwing
Right.
pixie dust on you,
Right.
but consciously going in and go tweak, tweak, tweak. Oh man, that's exactly what I was looking to do. Well, yeah, and
Right.
you see these transformations that people make, and it's not a transformation based upon you need more information. Typically we're drowning in information, we're starving for wisdom, right? That you don't need more information, you don't need another book, you don't I mean those that's good. It's important to continue to educate my mind and grow. I mean, just being around people like you, I'm just continually blown away by the way your mind works, right? But I got to continually
Right.
sharpen my sword. But it's more about am I showing up consciously? Am I being who I need to be in this? Like, ask yourself right now, if you're watching this video right now, ask yourself, am I the brightest? Am I the boldest? Am I the most powerful version of myself? And if you aren't, ask yourself, what would happen if I just for today, just for an hour, just for 10 minutes, chose to show up as the highest version of myself?
Right.
Just for a minute, and
Right.
wear it like a jacket, and let it be an experiment. We do
Right.
the mental cleanse, we call it an experiment, because it
Right.
shifts everything. It shifts your narrative, it shifts your beliefs, it
Right.
shifts because you're cleaning out all the cobwebs that are in your mind, right?
That's awesome. So if people want more of this, how do they find you, Steven?
They can find me Mastering Change, so www.masteringchange. I've got some stuff from a business standpoint at www.strategy.zone. And then from the hero's journey perspective, you also have me at welcometothejourney.com.
I love it. So this is what I'm going to summarize as conscious empowerment and conscious cleansing all at the same time, creating that transformation with you, because what's inside of you is what's going to make it happen. And always, 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 I encourage people, find a guide, find Steven. They have so much experience to get dialed into, what's stopping you, what's preventing you, what's challenging you, help you reform, your model of the world by asking the right questions. But the cool thing is, it's your world. So I'm going to give you the last word, Steven.
Well, it's your story, and if you're gonna buy into a story worth telling.
I love it. I'm Dr. Bart Rademacher, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation: Real People, Real Conversations, Real Success. Talking to the exemplars, the luminaries around the planet, like Steven Twohig. I want to thank you again, and I'll be back.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Dr. Rademacher's Prescription for Your Transformation. Continue the path towards discovering your own authentic genius by tuning in next time for more real conversations with real people.